Welcome back to the class, everyone. We recently covered all of the best GAC Omicrons and even looking a little bit at the worst ones. I wanted to do a TW one, but I think on this one, we're going to need just a little bit of help. So today, I am joined by none other than Solobass15. How are you doing, Solobass?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm happy that you're here to do this with me because, as people can probably see on the screen right now, I'm not exactly super fluent in TW Omicrons or counters, but a little bit of credentials on Solobass. He is a super good PvP player. He's been in and out of the top 50 pretty consistently, and I almost want to say that you're in one of the best, if not the best, pound for pound TW guilds in the entire game.
Absolutely. And have been for the past 3 years.
So
how long I've been in the gauntlet, at least.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, even outside of your current guild. So I have a little bit of a rough idea just because of what I've heard and what I've been involved with of where the Omicrons land, but Solobass is pretty much here to fact check me on all of them. So, as seen before in the previous GAC video, we're not just doing like this is the best one, this is the second best one, but we have them in their proper categories. So first we're going to talk about transformative ones that really make the team an entirely new team. The useful ones that are nice to have where you might see a difference. And then the niche ones, which you kind of have to jump through quite a few hoops to really explain if they're any good at all. And then we'll talk about the Inquisitors last. So first off, for transformative, these aren't in any particular order, by the way. We have Dad Bod Boba. So Solo, I have been a little bit disappointed with him and his overall 5v5 viability in GAC. What makes him just so head over heels in TW?
His Omicron is basically an entire new ability. So one of the fun things that it does, because this is his lead, it's on getting contract. It cuts his contract in half, which means thanks to Fennec hitting 5 times, 1 mass assist, you get instant contract, which, as you know, for bounty hunters, instant contract is quite the amazing thing. But also, and this is, it can't be ignored, you take less damage because his Omicron has you take less damage. You get a crap ton more potency, but more importantly, the mastery and the speed. This lets you beat every Lord Vader out there. If you have just a normal bounty hunter team with him in the lead and Fennec in there, in TW you can beat every Lord Vader, including those just awful Vader with Grand Inquisitor and Reva teams that are now popping up. They just shouldn't because of this guy who's just going to kill him.
Yeah, so I've heard a lot of really good things about it. Obviously, I don't have it, so that's kind of all I'm at. And one of the things that I thought for the longest time that I've heard is, why bother with this? Because Fennec can do it just as easily. And I looked at the win rates over the last couple months of Fennec versus Lord Vader and GAC. And I still use the counter. I like it because it sets up a nice 2-shot. But it's a 10% win rate. Like it's
awful.
It's not high. Like it is. I still like to use it because of reasons. But what would you say if you had to guess? What would if everyone knows what they're doing with mods and turn order and all the such, and as the Omicron, what would you say the win rate is? It somewhere in like the 80th percentile?
It's probably higher than that. If you have it modded right and you've run it before, I was actually just trying. I should have done this before. I was just trying to pull up our last time that we attacked a Lord Vader zone, and I was trying to get what our win rate was. I can't find it quick. It's disgustingly high, though. It is a very high win rate.
All right, well, now that we have that settled, we do have several other Omicrons in here as well. We have Juhani. I guess my quick question with Juhani is, I've heard she's very good. Is there any value at all without Starkiller? She seems to me, based on the kit's description, entirely tied to him.
Yeah, she's a partner with Starkiller. She transforms that team, like, by definition, transforms that team into a fantastic team. But without Starkiller, you're not going to apply hers.
I've wondered a little bit, and I don't know, I guess we'll see here in a minute, with the expansion of the unaligned force users, if there's like there ended up just like one that magically pops up, but right now that's kind of complete speculation.
Yeah. Yeah, that actually will be interesting if she fits in with Malicos and them. We'll talk about it later. The other two Ufus on this list are definitely going to be going with him. Yeah.
So we have Droideka in the transformative area too, and when I first saw this, I was just like, oh, this is obviously just CG trying to say, we want Trench to take the other Separatists, so Grievous can't have him. But I think he's a little bit more than that. What was your big pull for Droideka? For me, I just look at him and I'm like, oh, Bad Batch can't beat him. Is that all he is, or is he more than that?
It's Bad Batch plus can't beat him. I mean, you're not going into that with an easy team and beating them. Ironically, we'll talk about Poggle later. Poggle can beat him. But it takes, I would say, one of the biggest, questions we had in our guild, and, we're a 580 million GP guild, is always, how are you going to kill Droideka that's not overkill? And so you're going to stick them on defense. You're just going to plop them on defense and say, go ahead, be their problem. And it will be their problem.
Well, that's TW or G. See, that's kind of my favorite thing is, okay, can I just force him to overkill this? Because then the team gets beat every single time, but if you can feel good about what they use, that's really all that matters. Next up is going to be Phasma. So Phasma, I've told you this earlier today when we were kind of going over this a little bit. She gives me Qui-Gon Jinn vibes in the sense that you will get out of her what you put into her. If you're in like a lower guild where people are putting Grievous and stuff on defense, and you wanted to use her on defense, she can trip some people up. But even at like the higher end game, I feel like she has a little bit of the Wampa-ness in the sense that you might not use her to beat something, but your opponent immediately can't set X, Y, and Z because it gets Phasma'd. Like, would you be able to give me an example of one or two things that when you're planning for TW, you just immediately can't set because you see your opponent has 50 Phasmas?
Well, she beats Starkiller. That's number one, because Starkiller with Juhani and EP, well, not even with EP, just Starkiller in every variety, Phasma beats it. You do have to play it differently, obviously, if it's a Traya or a Malgus or an EP lead. But once you get the kind of ways of the battle down, then Phasma is just going to destroy Starkiller. Fun fact, if there's no thick Datacrons out, she can also kill Lord Vader. That's just throwing that one out there. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of defense and thick stats around to help Lord Vader, but Phasma kills Vader if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, so I only have the 2 TW Omicrons, but when she did have her Datacron, I was like, all right, let's do this. And I was surprised by just how clean it was. And granted, there was a looper part of that, but still, like, it is her leadership of gaining advantage that lets her go before everyone and they can't get dots. So that is really, really good. So we already mentioned Poggle, and we know it beats Grievous, but is he ultimately an offensive or a defensive team with the amount of survivability here? Because I've seen people time out against this with Traya, who has an Annihilate, mind you.
Yeah, so I mean, every one of these characters has some sort of defensive viability. He's an offensive team. If modded right in equal levels, and that's the key there, I'm going to say with this. With equal levels, Poggle can beat Reva lead on defense, and all the Inquisitors. So that's how strong this team is. Now, if you want to plop it on defense, that your opponents can just bring Night Sisters and all the Geos die like immediately. But yeah, he's hitting up. He can kill the Droideka. He can kill with lower relics than the Grievous team. He can kill Reva when they're equal relics. So he's got a lot of punch in there. And the nice thing is, so if you don't have them all at R5, you can apply this Omicron even with a couple of G12s, and they're going to kill all the B teams. You're going to be able to clear all the B teams, and because of the survivability, you're going to get a 20 on it. And that's, I mean, you can't really argue with that.
And we see this in GAC too. I always think it's a testament to how powerful the team is. If they ever have to put in the clause at the very beginning, if there are no enemy Galactic Legends, like that what does that mean? That means it's beating teams of that caliber if you're doing everything correctly. So definitely, while I'm a little surprised that it beats Third Sister, I mean that's where the proof is in the pudding right there. So next one, this one's gonna have like a pretty big asterisk on it, I'm pretty sure. This is Grand Inquisitor's lead, and I'll just ask you up front, and I see this question all the time on Discord, and I think I know the answer, but does Grand Inquisitor's leadership just kind of go in the trash the second you get Riva, or is there some niche possibility where this gets to be used again?
There are going to be some cases where it gets to be used again. So if you've already applied it, there's going to be cases where you can use it. If you are going to have Riva in the next 4 months, I would not place it. Because the one thing he does, well, it does two things as you're showing on screen. You know, it's they regain Purge, which is great because a lot of the Inquisitors consume Purge with some of their specials, and you want them to have as much Purge as possible. But B, it lets you ignore taunt. So if you're going up against the teams, you can just ignore the tanks throughout the entire fight, which it's never a bad thing. But if you get Riva wins. Like the Riva lead just wins.
Well, and I remember seeing this when it first came out. What it looked like that if you paired it with, I believe, his special Omicron here, which I believe is also in this tier of Transformative, by the way, he gets to annihilate any Jedi. So not only when he gets 6 stacks of Purge, he can find any character out there that's a Jedi or whatever and just kill them completely. Which seemed like a lot of value to me, considering he can do it over and over and over again, because without Riva there, assuming you're using GI lead, they're not all going to hit 6 stacks of Purge at the same turn.
Right. Yeah. Though that ability is ironically why Riva is so good, because you can go up against the JMK and immediately on his first turn kill General Kenobi.
Oh.
Immediately. Just don't even blink. Like, you go before anybody gets turn meter, and he's killed General Kenobi thanks to good old Riva lead.
And then you can immediately go right for Cat, and you don't have to worry about him getting damage immunity or anything like that. You just have full random. Not to mention, the ability, this isn't the Omicron, but the ability in general gives you all your allies speed up. So Kenobi will go, but that's about all they'll get.
Right.
All right, so very cool and Grant. So Embo's up next, and we have a very similar question with him. Is he any good at all if you don't have Jabba? Like, that's the only place I ever see him was with Jabba, because of the massive amount of buffs he gives that can be applied to a Galactic Legend.
Yeah. So the answer is not really. If you're somebody like Van Seal that has full R9 bounty hunters, you're going to get use out of it. I spent a year and a half in the Gauntlet, and every 3 months or so, a guild leader or TW leader would be like, all right, we've got this counter. It relies on the Embo lead. We'd use it twice and then never use the Embo lead again. Or Omicron, not lead. And then it would just sit there for 3 months and then be like, oh, we thought about this one counter. We'd use it. It would work. It wouldn't work well. It'd sit on the bench for 3 months again. And then finally Jabba came and everyone was like, oh, finally a use for the Omicron I applied for this counter that's not very good.
Yeah, and I've gone against it enough to know that it is a major pain in the butt. One of the things that annoys me about it, and I'm not even sure if it's working as intended, but it seems to persist after Embos died. So on the same attempt, if you killed all 4 allies and you're like, oh, everything should be easy now, all of these really annoying things still keep happening while Jabba's there, particularly the turn meter, which is not super fun to deal with because Jabba has so much recovery that he keeps getting turns and then stops everything, and it's not fun. All right, and next up we have Fulcrum, and this one, number 1, her new art looks awesome. Number 2, this one intrigues me, so I don't want to spend too much time here, but she gets a massive amount of buffs, and one of the things they've done recently with her kit is with Cal's Omicron, she can actually be used on a team and not just in a solo matchup. Where is her value right now? Would you say that depending on where you're at, you can find value as a solo, or depending on where you're at, you can find value as the whole team? Where is she being used?
She is, so it like you said, it kind of depends on where you're at in the game. If you are end game, she's getting paired with the Cal Omicron, and for right now, you stick her on a Ray team. when Malicos comes out, she probably both of them probably join Malicos. So in what, about 5 weeks?
Yeah.
But if you're not that high up yet, she solos almost everything. Like she just solos stuff. You got to give her relics. You know, she has to be built up. She has to survive. But she a lot of people stopped placing EP Starkiller on defense because she solos the team.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I noticed with Wampa too. He gets a ton of stat boosts, and a lot of those stat boosts mean almost nothing if you don't give him relics. Like, you get to amplify it, no pun intended, so much more if they have their relic amplifier higher.
Yeah, exactly. So if you have her R7, just go to town.
Very nice. So that wraps up pretty well our transformative categories. Now we're going to move more into the useful. And again, redefining what does useful mean? It means these don't necessarily completely, just completely turn around the team, but you do see a change in their performance where they might unlock a new counter, or at least they take a counter that was pretty shaky and then actually make it work really well. So first up, we have Sidious. And this one, I always loved the concept where he gets to pretty much apply his unique to everyone so that other Sith allies gain max health equal to half of his potency until the first time he's defeated, except for Galactic Legends and whatnot. Where do you see him being used, though? Because Sith is kind of a fickle faction right now where we're able to make legitimately 3 different Sith teams.
Yeah, so he gets used on 2 teams. One is Malgus. He is... you kind of don't expect it because he's not Sith Empire, and he kind of breaks that unique. But with the stats that he's sharing, it's kind of better than the unique. The other more important one is Watt is getting used in so many places now, and Sidious just provides survivability to Sith Eternal. He shares all those stats, and he just provides all that survivability to Sith Eternal without Watt. Now it's going to be, you're going to win for like a 16 as opposed to, a 19 if it's C Watt, but that's fine.
Does that include, so the ability says excludes Galactic Legends. Is that specific to the health thing, or is that just down below, or is that the whole thing? How does that work, or is that not working as intended?
Well, it's more that you're pairing friends with Sith Eternal. That's why it's a 16. So
I understand what you're saying. So he doesn't get the boost, but all of his meat shields do.
Right, like you give Sith Empire Trooper that huge boost.
That makes a ton of sense.
If you pair Traya with them, Traya and Nihilus with Sith Eternal, they're getting this huge boost on top of all their uniques where they start stacking.
Okay, so that's actually almost irrelevant that it says excludes Galactic Legends, because if you're using it with C, he can't even be targeted for most of the match. Right. So that's actually really, like, what is the opposite of false advertising? Like, it's almost like would steer people away from it when it's actually not really relevant at all.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm really glad I asked. All right, so next up we have Mace. And Mace, so I always looked at Mace and I always thought, okay, this looks super stinking good, but the only Galactic Republic team that I ever see in TW at all, we don't really see Padme anymore, but is JMK. Yeah. And this doesn't seem to completely like ruin counters. Does it add RNG to the fights? Is there another team that I'm not aware of? How does it work?
So Mace, kind of the reason he's in useful and not transformative is because it is very RNG dependent. So if you're using Jedi Master Kenobi against somebody like Jabba, and he's applying Shatterpoint, it's random, and you can't just focus one character, but you're slowly working their health down because Shatterpoint is reducing their max health. And, the Jabba team has so much survivability that you're slowly working their max health down so that when you get to a point, you're just killing them much faster, especially when you get it down to only Kersantin and Jabba, and Kersantin's getting Shatterpoint every time. You're just reducing his stats and reducing his stats. On defense, man, there is nothing more annoying than you're going up against a Jedi Master Kenobi on defense, and their cat takes a turn and Shatterpoint lands on your damage dealer, and their cat just eliminates your damage dealer around 3 different tanks. And you're like, I lost. That's good. Okay.
Yes, so I would see it more as offensive viability. It's kind of hilarious though.
Yeah.
So if you have a wall of 50 or something like that, that's probably going to happen. What, maybe 10 times at
Yep.
most, where that
Well,
happens. But it'll be funnier
yeah.
when, or it's probably better
Yeah.
to take it against Jabba and then just not time out against Omicron.
It is, except for I can tell you that if you put double tank, so you put General Kenobi and Mace on the JMK team, Inquisitors are going to struggle on that because who do you kill? Do you kill General Kenobi first, or do you kill Mace first? Because if you don't kill Mace first, Cat is just taking out one of your Inquisitors.
Well, and the issue that I've had with that just in normal play is that once you have to kill multiple members of the JMK team, it gets really complicated because Cat starts to give more stats than she would have been giving before, and then it becomes even harder to kill her. So the double tank thing is very annoying. So next up we have Trench, and Trench is a little bit awkward because we put both Grand Inquisitor as well as Dad Bod Boba, who are supposed to be of similar caliber, being legendaries and conquest characters, in the transformative one. Why is Trench getting knocked down to useful rather than being that high up?
Because he's not that good. So for the past 4 months, he's had this tremendous datacron.
Yeah.
That is done a lot. And he just doesn't have that anymore. And so this Omicron's not bad. The Omicron's actually pretty good. But it's not killing GLs anymore. The datacron was a huge part of killing the good GL teams. And that datacron's gone, and the new set has come and has no dark side, so it's not even boosting him up.
Oh yeah.
And so, yeah, his best use probably for the next 2 months is stick him on defense with like a 15% datacron, max health, etc. datacron, and just make him tough to kill, because he will be very tough to kill. You can't go into that fight just expecting to kill him with a B team, but at the same time, he's not taking out any of the A teams on offense.
So my big problem with him in GAC, and I'll see if it relates at all to TW, is the problem that he's just not that good, or is the problem that his team is too expensive to warrant how not good he is?
The problem is that putting Watt on him is just too expensive.
Yeah.
It's the Django, the Dooku, you can get over all that. It's Watt is really expensive.
Yeah, especially I've heard multiple people who are kind of in the gauntlet talk about how much 20s matter. Like where I'm at, 20s are kind of whatever, or even 19s. But I can imagine where the amount of survivability the Watt is given to a higher level counter just can't really be sacrificed. This one, this one's probably super simple. I don't even know if I have any questions on it. So this pretty much just makes sure that Ahsoka's works. So if you don't have Ahsoka, it's nothing, and if you have Ahsoka, it's probably pretty good.
That's exactly. Like I said earlier, stick them on a Rey team, stick them on a Malicos team, and it just makes Ahsoka go boom.
So what about Skiff Guard? So we obviously talked up Embo quite a bit with Jabba. I'm guessing you're not using Lando outside of Jabba. Why is Lando not that good? Like, why does he not really move the needle as much as Embo would?
Because he doesn't change the counter. That's the big thing. You're still going to use the same counters. You're still going to have a lot of the same results. He just makes the Jabba team hit a little harder, so you need a couple more relics. So it's not that it's bad, it's just it doesn't change anything. It's not a transformative one.
Okay, hence the very use of the naming.
Yes.
And then we have 2 more. Oh, and so I looked at this one. I cheated. I really shouldn't have looked because it would have been better to see my reaction. But we have Hera right now in the useful section too. And you were telling me that the reason why, I guess I'm going to speak for you. You're telling me the reason why is because obviously we have Commander Rex out now, and he's Phoenix and he does a lot of good things. And the first thing that came to my head was, are we just confusing a good team for a good Omicron? And then I read what it did. And I got to the last line, and whenever a Phoenix ally uses a special ability, all Phoenix allies gain 10% offense stacking until they're defeated. So have you, I guess, like, is this offense, is this defense? But this is huge because Rex's whole thing is everyone wants to use their specials, and they don't deal a whole lot of damage, but if they're given unlimited offense, this is probably what changes things.
Yeah, this is an offense team. Like, hands down, without a doubt. On defense, they're going to take something good to kill. Gas is probably Gas and Tuskens actually do it. But on offense, especially with this new Datacron set, if you can land Rex right now, and you can land one of the Rex Datacrons that they stack on the level 6, this is like the definition of a GL killer.
Wow. Oh yeah, and there's no obviously when this Omicron was put out there, they didn't think that it would be even touching any like Galactic Legend or anything, so it doesn't have any like the funny caveats like Poggle does.
Right, exactly.
And then we have one more GI unique to carry over. So I want to ask the same question I asked before in regards to Riva. If you have Riva, do you need this?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. I mean, it's not bad. It's not awful. It can have some use, but I wouldn't. We're in such a Omicron crunch that I wouldn't tell people to apply it.
It doesn't meet the threshold. So if you have it, you
Yeah.
can probably use it in some good scenarios, but it's not, again, very much meeting the title useful rather than transformative. So our next and kind of semi-last category is niche. And as I previously explained in our GAC video, this category is, they're not necessarily terrible, but for you to eventually stumble upon the point where you're like, oh, that was good, you have to use like a really long-winded sentence with a bunch of ifs. Like, I'm trying to think of who would be a really good example out of this, and I don't know. I guess maybe, well, I guess we could pick Jawas, where if you have all your Jawas relicked and your opponent uses a bunch of team that has a bunch of assists out of a turn, and banners don't matter as much to you, and whatever, and then the amount of stuff that this does ends up becoming good. So,
right.
I'm trying to think if we really want to even dig into any of these, because I think most of them are self-explanatory. Is there anything you would like to specifically make a comment on?
Yeah, the one, actually two. Let's go with two of them. Tarful is an interesting one because he's a rule of 16 guy. Where if you look at his, and you probably haven't, because why would you? This is his level 9 Datacron right now. You can go out and test this Omicron right now in GAC. If you get his level 9. The problem is in GAC you're setting 11 teams in 5v5. In TW you're setting 8, and the rule of 16 is really going to hit him hard. So it's not that it's bad. It's actually kind of useful, but he has trouble finding the board. And most people that will have him fully relicked up along with 4 other Wookiees that aren't stealing from CLS are going to have a big enough roster that they don't need him.
So you brought up an important term that we probably should have addressed at the beginning of the video, and one of the cool things about these is sometimes we get to pick up information that isn't directly about the subject, but you mentioned the rule of 16.
Yeah.
Could you expand on what that means? Like, why doesn't Tarful meet the rule of 16? Who are the 16?
I should have written them down. So we have 8. The reason we call it the rule of 16 is because you only need 16 teams in TW. You have 8 offense, 8 defense. You have 8 GLs out there right now. Then you're going to have a Malgus team, a Star Killer team, a Gas team, a CLS team, an Inquisitor team.
Obviously you don't have to list them all, but I think you've already given the concept that they are.
Right.
If you're not a top 16 team, you don't make the cut. And I think one of the other things you said was pretty relevant too, is sometimes it's worth it to gear up a character or a team that's outside of the top 16 if you're just like 8 Galactic Legends is a joke to you. Like, that's never going to happen or whatever. Like, and that's one of the reasons why I love Phasma so much, is she probably isn't a top 16 team anymore, right?
No, we have used her every single territory war.
All right, so that was a terrible example. Let's say
that was.
Let's say Phasma isn't in the top 16.
Yeah.
She's still really good because you get this long-lasting value over a while, because number one, Phasma herself is super accessible, but so is First Order. And I think the comment you gave about Tarful is very relevant, that most of the people that are going to have Tarful, a brand new character that is not accelerated, that needs a ton of Kairos, and its team is super niche, that like most people don't have Zalbar and Clone Wars Chewie or relics. Like, if you're already at that point, you probably are in a place where the top 16 is primarily Galactic Legends or something of the sort.
Right. Exactly. That's That is Tarful's big problem. Is he actually would do really well on a board with a mid-sized roster, except for nobody's going to have the team to place him when they have a mid-sized roster. Yeah.
You said you want to comment on Tarful. What was the other one you would like to comment on?
Yeah, the other one here is actually Scion of Django. So a lot of people make fun of his the one was it's his unique that removes the protection.
Oh, I think he gets the special, yeah.
Yeah. It's the protection disruption. It's the special. So a lot of people like to make fun of that. You would be shocked how many times that ends up getting used if the opposite team doesn't place Lord Vader down.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of one of those, like, it is wasted most of the time because everybody places Lord Vader, and you're going to say, why the hell did I apply this? And then somebody doesn't place Lord Vader, and you get to use that Omicron, and you find out how useful it is. It's just he gets so used so often on one specific counter that everybody places that it's kind of it's niche in the fact that you rarely use it. But it's good. It is actually good.
Well, and it makes sense about the whole design, not only of his kit, but of Fennec's. They really like to hit targets without protection. And with Lord Vader, that's like not even an inconvenience because they just don't have it. But this, I think you kind of nailed it well. It opens up the other counters if Lord Vader's in place to having the same, I guess, weakness that Lord Vader ends up having. He does have such weakness. Right. And now that we've covered the niche pretty well, I'll just mention this with Inquisitors. These are just bad. Like, not only are they, not only are the leaderships themselves just not good, if you are working on Inquisitors in any way, shape, or form, you're going to end up with Grand here very soon. And he is just miles better than all of them. Like, I would take a Grand level 1 leadership over an Omicron one of these just because he's that much better. So I guess for the sake of the video, if you had to pick one of these that is the best of, like, the turds, which one is it?
If we were going with one, it would be Fifth Brother. Because it actually does some interesting stuff. It's just eclipsed by Grand Inquisitor. Like, if you read that bottom line, it's whenever an enemy gains bonus turn meter, all the Inquisitors gain 15% turn meter. Like, that's huge if you're going up against turn meter teams, which there's a ton of them. Not very big or not big enough to eclipse Grand Inquisitor or Reva.
So this is a very specific question, and it might not have ever been explored, but would this let Inquisitors without GI beat Gas? Because it's very specific to his whole kit, which is he wants the enemy lead to be a Jedi, and he wants the rest of the enemy to not be a Jedi. And there's a lot of turn meter gain on the 501st team between Five's constantly getting turn meter because you're hitting another target, or Rex just giving his turn meter up.
Yeah, it was very clearly designed to beat Gas. I wouldn't trust it as my counter.
Okay, that's fair.
I think it would. I just don't think it would be clean.
Yeah, and then it goes back to the thing of, like, why would you put an Omicron on a character that wouldn't be clean for 3 months before you get, the one that's actually going to be good? So
exactly.
All right, so thank you very much for your help with this. I feel a lot more confident now, and I think we're going to be able to give a little bit more guidance to a lot of people. Do you have anything you would like to say before you peace out?
Yeah, let me the final thing that should be said about all TW Omicrons is that if it is a defensive Omicron, kind of like the Droideka, EP Star Killer, or I should say Mara and Juhani, they're kind of pointless if your entire guild doesn't do it.
Oh,
that is the final thing of just one team with the Omicrons isn't going to be a problem. If you don't have a majority of your guild doing the defensive ones, it's kind of pointless. On offense, all these offensive teams, it's great if you have it and the rest of your guild doesn't, because you can now just help clear a wall. On defense, one person with the defensive Omicrons is not going to win the war.
Yeah, and that sounds like an expression, but that's just legitimately how it is. There's gonna be someone on their team who figures it out, or even if they don't figure it out, they'll throw 11 teams on it, and boohoo, they drop 10 banners total. Like, it's probably not a 10 banner war.
Yeah.
All right. Solo, again, thank you very much for being on here. Thank you for all of your wisdom. Until next time, stay awesome. Surprise, it's not actually the end of the video. I thought it was important that we actually gave a proper shout out to our guest Solobass who was on here giving us all that great information. If you would like to know more about him or hear more about what he's doing in Galaxy of Heroes, please do check out the comments below. I've linked not only his Twitch page where he does live streams for his GACs, but also his podcast with Sarah Prevails will be in there too. You should give it a listen. And as always, guys, thanks for watching and stay awesome.